Welcome back to One-on-One Sports. Once again, I'm Andrew Springs, and I'm joined by our NFL resident experts, Josh Norris and Tom Waterman. Boys, we're 10 weeks into the NFL season, and there are so many storylines and questions yet to be answered, many of which our very own Lauren Wisniewski got straight from the fans in this week's segment, From the Fans.
Hey One-on-One Sports fans, I'm Lauren Wisniewski, and this is From the Fans. I'm out here today on campus on this chilly fall day. Perfect football weather though, and that is the topic of our From the Fans segment for this week. So let's get to the first question. What's your name?
I'm George Drawn.
Okay, and your question is?
Who would you say is the most overrated or underrated player in the NFL currently?
Great question. Guys, do you have an answer?
Our first question comes from George. Who is the most overrated player in the NFL through 10 weeks? Josh, let's start with you.
Many people think that Eli Manning is a top 10 quarterback in this league, and he's just not. Right now, all of his stats are middle of the road. 19th in completion percentage, which is 60%, 14th in quarterback rating, and he has 11 turnovers compared to 15 touchdowns. That's not that great.
Josh, stats are important, but you play to win the game. And that's what Eli Manning does. Through 4 years as a starter, 4 playoff appearances, 2 NFC East titles, and a Super Bowl win. That's what he does, and he's great for it, and that's why they win.
I'm not sold on his leadership, though, and his team hasn't even been winning that many games this season. He needs to energize that team when they are down like they are right now.
Okay, well, we've heard from you, Josh. Tom, who is your most overrated player?
Staying in the NFC East, it's got to be Donovan McNabb. He's known for 3 things: T.O., throwing up in the Super Bowl, and losing big games. He's lost 3 NFC title games, and he's lost a Super Bowl. That is why he's the most overrated player in the NFL.
You just talked about how Eli Manning was a great quarterback because he went to the NFC Championship twice and won a Super Bowl. Donovan's been to the NFC Championship 4 times, playoffs 7 out of his 10 years as a professional, and he's been to the Super Bowl once.
That game, that single game defines your career. And Eli Manning won it, and he will always be enshrined as a Super Bowl winner. Donovan McNabb lost. And until he wins that, he will not be considered a great quarterback, and until then, he's overrated in my book.
But Hall of Famers like Jim Kelly and Dan Marino never won that one game, that one Super Bowl, and they're still Hall of Famers.
But think about the records both of those 2 quarterbacks have and the records that Donovan McNabb doesn't have. Okay. Most underrated player this season?
DeAngelo Williams. Look back to last season. He had 20 touchdowns, which led the NFL, and he wasn't even selected to the Pro Bowl, wasn't even considered an MVP candidate. Go to this year. He is a consistent running back, and he improves from start to finish. This year, in September, 4.4 yards per carry. Now he's at 6.9. Last year, 3.7 in September. In December, 7 yards a carry. And he has to split time with his double-trouble roommate, Jonathan Stewart.
Most underrated player in your opinion?
To me, it's got to be Chris Johnson. DeAngelo's a great player and all, but Chris Johnson, leads the league in rushing, has the most receptions of any running back in the NFL. He puts up big numbers, and he's really overshadowed because he plays on a bad team, but he is by far the best running back in the NFL.
Fair enough. Lauren, let's hear the next question.
We're back, and here's our second question from, what's your name?
Michelle.
Okay, Michelle, and what is your question?
Who is the best player in the NFL?
Great question. Do you have any ideas?
I would think Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning, all right. Guys, what do you say?
Good thoughts, Michelle. Who do you think is the best player in the NFL right now?
It's Peyton Manning, hands down. He's a winner. He's got 3 MVPs. He's got a Super Bowl ring, and he's led his team to 10-win seasons 7 straight years. And look who he's working with. Austin Collie, Pierre Garçon. He's got no one, and he's a great player. He's got a coach on the field right there.
You can't argue with Peyton Manning being the best offensive player, but that's just a typical answer. Jared Allen is the best defensive player. He plays through injuries. Last year, he played with a separated shoulder and a strained MCL. And this year, he's just a tough guy. He is relentless. Hustle player. He's not the most athletic player, but 10.5 sacks is second in the league right now.
No talk about Brett Favre. Kind of surprising, but I understand. Lauren, let's hear our third question.
Thanks, guys. Now let's get the third question. What's your name?
Craig.
All right, and what is your question?
My question would be, who is the best team in the NFL?
Ooh, great question, and what is your take? Who's the best team right now?
I could go with the Colts, could go with the Saints. I'm going to go with the Saints.
Saints, you think?
Yes.
All right. Tom, Josh, Saints, Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
Thanks, Craig. Who is the best team in the NFL right now?
Week in and week out, it has been the New Orleans Saints, and they have the #1 offense. Everyone knows Drew Brees is maybe an MVP candidate this season. Reggie Bush a couple weeks ago came out and said he's not surprised that this team will go undefeated. He got heat for that. But he shouldn't have, because you don't want your players thinking you might lose a game at some point. You want your players to think you can go undefeated, that you can beat every single team in this league, and the Saints have a possibility of doing that.
Yeah. confidence is not a bad thing. I want to be confident in my pick right here. I'm going to think outside the box. And the New England Patriots. They're 6-3 right now, but they're really clicking on offense and defense at this point. Defense has really stepped up, third in the league right now in points per game allowed, and Tom Brady has really come back into form.
It's really surprising after the Sunday night loss that you're still picking them, but Bill Belichick will never make that mistake again, and that game can be placed on the coach's shoulders.
All right. Josh, Tom, thank you for your time. Also, thank you to Lauren Wisniewski for all those great questions. We have to take a quick commercial break, but Mike Feldman will be taking over to talk NBA when we come back, so stay tuned.